Hey y'all, what's going on? So I thought today for Reason we should make a little Reason song or a Minecraft song. So let's get started. By the way, if you're new to Reason, this isn't a tutorial for you. I'll be making a tutorial later on in the series. So just hold your breath for that. But don't hold it too long because I don't want you passing out. Anyways, first we're going to start with a combinator. Next, we're going to go to a Dr. Octorex. We're going to make a very simple song, or show you how I make a simple song. Now, unfortunately, not everyone has all the refills in the world in order to make a simple song. But you'll be surprised on how many people sell refills on eBay. They sell millions and millions of refills. So I thought I would just buy one of those, and what do you know? I have over 130 gigs of just refills, and that's all the stuff you will ever need, including instruments and stuff from Reason. You basically have ultimate power. So as soon as this loads, I'll show you how to... excuse me. So instead of going into my refills like I always do, because nobody has any of this stuff, I'm gonna go pull some stuff from the Reason factory sound bank. Also, you should know that I'm using Reason 6.5. So let's pick out a percussion loop. Actually, let's pick out a drum loop. And let's pick out a electro house. And let's scroll through. My bad. I forgot to change the audio driver. There we go. I like this. It's very glitchy. Okay, so now that I've picked out a loop, it's Bugs and Drugs from the Reason Factory Soundbank, and it's an electro house. So this Bugs and Drugs sounds like a Gorillaz beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to copy this to track. Some things are a little bit off, so I'll change it to match. Actually, let me make sure that's on 9. Copy to track, yeah. So I guess here's what I'm going to do. I'll hit R for razor. I'm going to cut this in half. Go to halves. It's not a half. Okay, so let me go to bar. It's still not cutting it in half. Anyways, I'm going to take this and hold down Option. I'm going to drag it over. I got to make sure 1/4 are selected, so that way I can have this little loop. And I'll also turn on the loop. And since this is at 130, I'm going to change it to 125. I don't want it to be exactly 130 because I want a little bit of swing. So let's have a listen. Turn out the run. It's a little bit low, so let's turn it up. Okay, so that's a little cool, but let's say I want to add a little bit more punch to it. So I'll right click the device. Whenever you right click a device, it will automatically always auto route. I'm going to go to Studio Effects, pick out a soft tube saturation knob, keep it on low, and turn it about halfway. It already has a little bit more character. So in the arrangement view, I'm going to right click on the combinator and delete the track, just to save a little bit more space and to keep it clean. Alright, so now that we have our first combinator, I'm going to name this as back drums. I'm going to create another combinator, and I'm going to use a Kong drum. I'm going to be layering this drum loop with these drums to give it a little bit more punch. Now this is where you need to have a keen ear. You got to listen to when the kicks hit and when the snares hit and when the hi-hats hit, because we're going to be layering that. So let me play around with the drum kits and pick one I like. Now that's a little too hip-hop for me. Electronic kits. Nope. House kits then. That's right. That sounds perfect to me, because we want snares and kicks to hit really hard. So I'm going to choose this Uptown Beat and house kits. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with this Dr. Octorix. Right click, go to Studio Effects, Soft Tube Saturation. Now Soft Tube Saturation is in the Reason rack extensions, and it's free. So I highly recommend getting this. I'll show you what the drum... Wait. Let me do the layering first. So I'm going to listen to the drums, the back drums as they play, and I want to layer it. Since this is a little too fast, I'm going to change it to 115. So I can already tell that this first lane is going to be kick, and it'll kick once every fourth. So I'm going to bring up my window, bring up my tool, change it to 1/4, and record this. And I also want to make sure I turn on pre and quantization while recording. So that way, if I hit a missed note, it'll automatically put it back in its place. So let's record this. Okay, now that we have that, I'm just going to basically Option and drag. And do Command or Control J to join the two. I'm working on a Mac, if you can't tell by my black mouse. So I just want a preference if you're working on a Windows and you have a white mouse, you want to do, for every time I say Command, you want to do Control. And I'm sure you have an Alt or an Option key. So that's about it for what I'm saying. Next, we will want to create a hi-hat. And I'm actually going to turn off the pre, simply because it's very basic, and I'm only going to record maybe 1/5. and chop it up and do it that way. So let me do bars, and let me go. I forgot to mention that you always want to set the quantization time. So for hi-hats, I'm going to do 1/16 because they can match better. Or for this traditional hip-hop type of style, I'm actually just going to hit 1/8 or 1/8 triplets. Yeah, let's do triplets. Here we go. Now, I accidentally hit B for block mode. Razor, cut this in half. Delete the last one. Drag it over. It sounds a little too shuffled. So what happens if we change it to 1/16? Nope, we have to do that part over. I should state that it's very, very important to get your timing down right. If you don't, you could be spending hours and hours trying to get the right sound. So in other words, now that we have this correct, because 1/16 is the time, let's turn down that hi-hat. There we go. Now we need to add a snare. New note lane. Double click to rename. Snare. Now let's have a listen to where we can put the snare. I like that one. So let's do that one. We want to change this to 1/4. Let me re-record this. So that works. So we will definitely keep that. Now let's have a listen. What else we can add? So we have two hats here. Find out where those are in my micro keyboard. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add more shuffle into this. So I'm going to do 1/8. And when I hit these two hats in a pattern like this, it's going to be more closed hat than a hi-hat, than more closed. Oh. It's going to be a pattern like that. So I'm thinking since that's so fast, I should actually change it to 1/16. So let's go. actually I'm running into conflict with these other hi-hats, so I'll move that out of the way and then input my hi-hats. It's a little bit shuffled, but I kind of like that. So we're going to save that for the second loop when that comes in. So now that we have our drums, I'm going to just select all of them and hit Option and drag them over. Same thing, except I'm going to hit my Shift button and click and drag. So that way I can select the parts that I want over. Option, drag, Option, drag. So now that we have our basic drum loop, I'm going to show you how to make a chopped music loop, and then that will be it for today. So right click, Instruments, Create Instrument. Now the Gorilla Sounds like to use a lot of funky instruments and change them a bit in order to get their sound. So I'm going to go into the NXT and I'm going to choose strings. Pick out a couple I like. No, we need something synthetic to get that rich sound. Synth lead. Yeah, this will work. So MGP, wah lead, synth lead, and it goes into the NXT patches from the Reason Factory sound bank. Click OK. We're gonna have a listen. Okay, so I'm basically gonna play a few chords, and if you are from music theory, let me see, this is C, D, E, F, G. So it's a G major, and I'm basically going to play G and F. No, I'm sorry, G and B to get that, and then C, D after that. So let's have a listen first. Alright, so this sounds like 16ths, easiest to capture. So let's do this. Wrong notes. Alright, so now that we have our loop, click, drag over the Alt Option, or Command J. If I'm not being too specific, please let me know, because I will try and be more specific. Anyways, let's have a listen. I'm actually going to loop this so that way I can constantly hear it. And I'm going to change the controls. That sounds a little bit better. So I'm going to right click and create the echo. I'm going to turn this about halfway, turn up the feedback about 55%, and change this to 3, should be an option here, 332 should be fine. So let's have a listen. It's actually a little bit too much, so I'm going to change it to 3/16. And I don't want the sound to inflict with itself, so I'm going to turn it down about a quarter. 24 should be good. That's perfect. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. And when we come back, we will finish this Minecraft song. Also, make sure to subscribe and like. Thanks.